Hello, I'm Harry Carter. I'm from Winchester and I am 20 years old and this is my life. This is just what I do in my spare time. I do internet things and I'm an internet denizen and I play video games like a weirdo, you know? This is where I keep everything. I have lots of games from different generations, like PS2, Xbox. I also have some old PS1 games down here. This is actually one of the first games I've ever played. Wow, you are dusty. Being a nerd is an interesting sort of phenomenon because you've got different types of nerds. You've got video game nerds like me, you've got science nerds, and in some cases you even get culture nerds. Speaking of which, today I'm doing something quite different. It's also the reason I have this god-awful beard at the moment.
Over the next week, I'll be diving into the culture of hipsters, their lifestyle, and generally exploring about how they react to trends. The problem is, I do not like coffee.
That's a skewed image of what I think a hipster would look like. So let's go to talk to some experts to see what the deal really is about.
In order to get a feel for the hipster culture, I better do something about my hairstyle. Headcase Barbers, a recently popular hotspot, has stores open in both Winchester and Shoreditch, the latter of which is almost infamous for being a growing hipsterfied area. I arranged an appointment with Barber Martin to see what he knew about his clientele, and to sort out this nest on my head.
It seems to be a thing where hipsters never call themselves hipsters.
No. I totally agree, and I don't know why that is, but again I think it's people don't want to be labelled. They will not associate themselves with something once it's become established, because they don't want to be seen as followers.
Yeah.
They want to be seen as trendsetters and being themselves, and that's all I hear. You know, you're totally on point, but it's more about being confident with who you are, I think. You know, if they're being a hipster just because that's who they are and because they feel comfortable like it, then great. I think they probably sell it better than anybody else. But when you get these guys who, there's 8 of them and they're all walking around and they've all got beards and they've all got tattoos and they've all got check shirts and they've all got braces and they're all trying to be this thing. Because none of them really get it and none of them really know who they are, then it probably comes across and we can all feel it. And
yeah.
Unless he's grown a beard and he's become a hipster. New you, my god.
Oh my
Who
God.
would have thought you could make a geek look so handsome?
Yeah. Okay, so Martin's just finished up with my new hairstyle. Because I am as blind as a bat, I have not actually been able to see his progress so far, so this will be the first time I will see his new hairstyle, and I'll tell you now, this is the most nervous I've been probably ever, really. So, here we go. Blimey. That actually does not look too bad, I'll be honest. That actually looks alright. I actually really like that. Wow. Yeah, and you can see the back as well. Wow. That is actually not too bad.
During me and Martin's discussion, we talked about how Shoreditch, London had become quite a hotspot for hipster activity as of lately. After some research, I discovered this process has a name. It is known as gentrification. The official dictionary definition of gentrification is the process of renovating and improving a house or district so that it conforms to middle-class tastes. I'm going to need to talk to more than just hairdressers for this. So we're heading off towards Southampton. We are going to speak to Professor Philip Hubbard. He is a university lecturer and a sociologist. He wrote a book about this particular topic we want to talk about, Battle for the High Streets, Retail Gentrification, Class and Disgust. We're hoping we can talk to him about this whole gentrification deal that's apparently rocking through the UK at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to get some good knowledge from him.
So we talk a lot about hipsters, we talk a lot about gentrification. Do you think hipsters are a cause of gentrification, or do you think hipsters are the effect of gentrification?
I think it's really complicated to kind of talk about cause and effect. As I said, I think the hipster is an identity that we've created to describe a particular form of gentrification. So in that sense, I think we can look at what's happened in places like Shoreditch, places like Brooklyn, places like Kreuzberg, and we can describe it as hipsterfication, and that helps us make sense of that particular form of gentrification that's happened there. So I don't think it's quite as simple as saying the hipster has caused this thing to happen, or this form of gentrification has created the hipster. I think hipsterfication is a form of gentrification, and I'm not completely sure that many of the people we would label hipsters would see themselves as gentrifiers, or even be aware, have a consciousness that they're involved in gentrification.
Professor Hubbard picked up on a very interesting aspect of hipster culture. it is very rare that a hipster labels himself as a hipster. He suggests that it is a label that society gives them, much like other stereotypes. This hipster rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than I ever could have expected. Feeling like I need to go to the source of the problem, I decided to buy a ticket directly going to Shoreditch, London.
We're in London today. We're going to go towards Shoreditch to speak with some of the community members, and we're going to go to the infamous now Brick Lane.
My first opinion of discovering this area, you could not have found a more mixed bag of cultures in one place. A graffiti-filled tunnel led out to a thriving modern high street with a small market square smack bang in the centre. I couldn't tell if the area was run down or prosperous. Somehow it was both. My main goal of coming to Shoreditch was to speak with some of the more alternative shops that had set up in the area, but I stumbled across someone much more fascinating. This is Paul, the owner and shopkeeper of Gardeners, a family business that specialises in paper and plastic bags. His store has been running since the 1870s, and he's starting to lose his livelihood to the trendsetters of the new generation.
My great-grandfather started it up, and initially we were scale repairers, the old-fashioned scales. Like these are the old scales here, like that kind of thing. We used to repair all those. At the moment it's very popular to be down here, and consequently I think the big businesses have moved in. They do make the rents go up, and then if people are nearby you and they're paying £100,000, then the likelihood is that your rents are going to go up. I mean, I'm lucky enough I've managed to negotiate a reasonably fair rent, like, really, but that it walls off all any small business, really. You can't have a small independent moving down here anymore because it's just too much of a risk, really.
So let's say like a year in the future or so, where do you see the shop going?
Well, we've just had a big thing with the business plates. We've got a little union called the East End Trades Guild, and it was really to bring smaller businesses together and have a voice, because you can be swept by the wayside quite quickly here. So we formed a little guild, the East End Trades Guild, and it's trying to help small businesses talk amongst each other. But I don't like saying it, but I don't think there's much chance I'm going to be able to survive, more than a couple of years, really, unless we get some help from the government, really. I mean, I'd like to carry on, forever, but if I'm paying more than £1,000 a week for rent and rates, it's just not worthwhile, sadly. I'll have to go on the internet like everyone else, but it's not something I want to do.
After waving goodbye to Paul, we set back on track, going to our first alternative shop, Serial Killer Cafe.
You name it, if it's got sugar in it, I can probably do it.
This place is now infamous because of the riots that took place last year over this very matter. People took issue to how the expense of living had been raised due to people like Serial Killer coming in. Going inside, it's interesting to see how such a small, simple shop could have caused so large a riot. Or a protest, as the media decided to call it. We were allowed to host an interview within the shop with the two shopkeepers at the time. However, the interview was severely delayed due to an influx of tourists and other customers coming in. This place is a lot more popular than I ever could have anticipated.
So, I think it was like about last year or a few years ago, Brick Lane was unfortunately the victim of a few protests, let's say.
Yeah.
And this place was specifically core of it. Like, how has that affected your business here?
It hasn't really. Look, at the end of the day, if these people think this, that's fine, they're entitled to their opinion, but the place gets customers in every day, and we have a constant turnover. You've seen yourself what it's been like over the last hour. It hasn't really affected. They're entitled to their opinion, but it's a fun atmosphere, and if people want to come here and get the nostalgia, they'll come here and they will have fun and they will get loads of sugar in their system.
The trend of Shoreditch and Brick Lane being trendy hotspots hasn't slowed down at all, as stores are still opening left and right. I stopped by the shiniest of brand new coffee shops in the London area. After being open for only 2 weeks, are they aware of the type of impact they're having on businesses such as Paul's?
From the perspective of somebody who has just moved into the area, like, what are your thoughts on possibly contributing to the gentrification of the area? Like, are there advantages? Like, are you aware of disadvantages?
Well, as a new business, obviously we probably form part of the gentrification. However, we're quite conscious and try to keep the history and heritage of the area, which is not part of gentrification. The advantage of us coming here is obviously we're bringing a quality product and quality service to the locals. Also, it becomes a platform or a medium for other people from different areas to come and visit this area. There is some disadvantages, obviously, because part of the history will change, which is not always a good thing. But I think in this instance, there are some good things that are going to come out. A good example is right next door, there's a redundant building. It's a massive building. It hasn't been used for the last 3 decades. Now, because of the gentrification, it's attracted investors. Investors are going to come in and build a new 114-bedroom hotel. That hotel will then attract tourists to come down, help local businesses to attract new customers, new clients, which will also obviously filter through to the community.
So this ends our little investigation into the world of hipsters. I have to say, I was very surprised to find out there was so much controversy and differing opinion. We went from talking about hipsters and we went into talking about prosperity and people getting evicted from companies they've owned for a decade. I think this is so surprising to me because, honestly, I felt hipsters were a bit of a joke. They were a caricature, a stereotype of somebody who could never possibly exist, yet going into Shoreditch and Brick Lane made me realise like how much effect they've had on society. I think what I'm trying to say is, no matter who you are, where you come from, or how you identify yourself, you always have an effect on society, even if you are a bit of a joke. Blimey, I got a bit deep there. Sorry. But anyway, I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you very much for watching my documentary, and I hope to see you soon. Oh gosh, I am never gonna get used to that.